shall we? As speakers, we live in a highly competitive world, and in any competitive market, we have to differentiate ourselves in order to survive. But how can we survive if many of us are speaking about similar topics? If you search for any speakers bureau, you will see similar topics on business, communication, arts, communication skills, human resources, customer experience, and leadership. If you focus on leadership alone, there are about 57,136 books, and the numbers continue to keep growing. So in the sea of sameness, how do you stand out in the marketplace? Do you struggle to create new ideas for your presentation, your brand, your product, your book? And how can you use creativity to engage your customers in new ways? Today, I want to share with you that you need to embrace conflict. Yes, you're not mad, right? You need to embrace conflict. You don't need to be in a positive, nurturing environment to be creative. So let me share with you a quote from Ronald A. Hansford. He says, conflict is a primary engine of creativity and innovation. People don't learn by staring into the mirror. People learn by encountering differences. When we encounter differences, we can learn from them and get better. And this helps us to create even better things. If everything stays the same and it's easy to predict, we don't change or improve and nothing new happens because we get too comfortable and complacent. So let me just share with you my personal journey. In Singapore, we also live in a very highly competitive world. Singaporeans want to be the best in everything we do. We have the best airport, the best airline, the best shopping malls in the world, right? And we're taught to work hard, persevere, and overachieve. And like most ambitious Asian parents, they have high expectations for their children's academic achievement. They want their kids to have a prestigious career that is well paid and of high status. They want their kids to be lawyers, engineers, or doctors. So how do I know all these things? Well, I was born in a family of doctors. My late mother was a GP. She had a clinic named after my brother and I. My brother is also a GP. He works long hours. I hardly see him. My dad is Dr. Tay Chong Hai. He passed away almost 2 years ago. He was the most famous doctor in our family. He had a disease named after him, right? In Southeast Asia. He discovered a disease called the Tay syndrome. It's a rare recessive genetic condition. Me? I'm the black sheep of the family, or should I say, the most colorful sheep. You see, both my parents pushed me hard to become doctors just like them. And the more they pushed me, the more I rejected being one. You see, there's one tiny problem. I hated studying. I probably had ADHD and I wasn't able to focus too long on anything, except I love to draw. I grew up reading comics. I absolutely loved Spider-Man and even created a few books to share with my friends. And for my science project, instead of dissecting different parts of the butterfly, I was busy making them come alive on a piece of paper. Instead of looking at my school books, right? I like drawing on the pages. I would make little drawings at the corner of each page. And when you flip the pages quickly, it would look like animation and the drawings were all moving. My teachers were furious. They're angry. And the more they wanted me to stop, the more I was driven to draw. One day, I got a call from Mrs. Guan, my principal. She says, bring Guan here, right? I could hear her shouting over the phone. My mom and I were sitting very quietly in her office. I did not dare look at anyone. Mrs. Kwan slowly took up my latest masterpiece, a textbook turned comic book. My mom was about to scream and I nearly peed on my pants. The room went silent. Tension filled the room. Tick tock, boom. boom, boom. I could hear both the clock and my heart beating really, really fast. The stern-looking Mrs. Kwan turned to my mom slowly. My mom looked like she was prepared to put out a great fight to defend me. But what came out of Mrs. Kwan's mouth was something I will never forget until this day. She said, "Dr. Tay, your son is very creative. Keep his passion going because he has a bright future in art." My mom was totally shocked. I was too. In those days, nobody in the right mind would encourage the kids to pursue an art career, especially from an Asian culture. You know, that was the last day my parents tried to brainwash me to become a doctor. That was also the day I learned one very important lesson, that conflict with Mrs. Kwan has the power to disrupt my status quo. It shook the conventional Asian upbringing and my parents' expectation, empowering me to stand for what I'm passionate about. Conflict is the catalyst that drives creativity. Learning isn't achieved by self-reflection on the mirror. It's through engaging and different perspectives and opinions. The concept of collide incites conflict, sparking fresh, creative thought. It's also about identifying different tension points between opposing ideas and smashing them together to forge new, unfamiliar creations. Collide is my approach in generating dynamic, creative ideas that captivates your audience. Collide has led to big changes throughout history, from atoms smashing together in the atmosphere to the endless clashes of civilization, and also to COVID disrupting our way of life. Did you know that all of our inventions and breakthroughs have been driven by collision? I'll share with you some example. In the late 1800s, soldiers had a tough time carrying huge bags while needing to move fast and fight. They had to carry a screwdriver for their rifles because they needed to assemble and disassemble their rifles, a can opener for the food, and a sharp knife for cutting ropes. This problem led to the making of the Swiss Army knife, which combined all the three tools into one small little tool. And this made it a lot easier for the soldiers to carry less, move quicker, and have a better chance of survival. Dr. Spencer Silver is a very inquisitive scientist. He was focused on creating a very strong adhesive that will last. Unfortunately, he struggled to get what he wanted. Instead, he discovered an adhesive which retains the stickiness but can be peeled off pretty easily. At the same time, Art Fry, who was another scientist, sang for the church choir. He would use yellow small scraps of paper to bookmark the hymns that he would want to sing, right? After a few days, all the yellow scraps of paper would fall off, and he was so frustrated. And he desperately needed a bookmark that would stick to the paper without damaging the pages. Coincidentally, Art partnered with Spencer, and they began developing a new product. They found writing messages on their new notes to communicate around the office. This wasn't just a collaboration. This was a collision of quirks and genius. The invention was more than just a bookmark. It was a whole new way to communicate, making the birth of what we know now as Post-it notes. Do you notice something common between these two innovations? You see, by colliding one or more ideas together, we create a new idea, and a new idea is formed. I've been using Collide as a creative director for more than 25 years, and I worked in top global advertising agencies like Saatchi & Saatchi, Leo Burnett, Gray, and now in BBDO. And I use this simple technique to engage advertising for blue chip clients such as Visa, Unilever, and HSBC to stand out in their marketplace. And tonight, or tomorrow, or this morning, I'll talk about one creative technique using the concept of collide. So what is collide? Collide is about mashing up two or more familiar things or ideas together to create something unfamiliar and unexpected. By using known things, we build on what people already understand and are also very familiar. And that's why advertisers spend a lot of money on popular songs to make content that people can connect with. I love movies, don't you? And movies can take us to different places and worlds, like, for example, a city full of crime, maybe to outer space or magical fairy tale. This is because they can tell a story that make us, forget about this real world. And sometimes a movie might not just belong to one kind of genre, right? So, for example, in the old days, if it's a Western genre, it's just cowboys. Or if it's a science fiction genre, it's just a spaceship flying around in space. These days, these movies collide with different types of familiar genres together to create something really, really special. For example, let's take the Oscar-winning film, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Can you tell me how many genres this movie has? Anyone? Well, it's not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not even 8. There are 10 genres, all smashed up together. It's a comedy, it's action, it's science fiction, there's LGBT theme, it's an adventure, it's martial arts, it's fantasy, it's dark comedy, and it's absurdist fiction movie. It tells a story of a Chinese immigrant, right? Evelyn, played by Michelle Yeoh, who discovers that she can travel through time, through the multiverse, in fact. The action scenes are fun and gripping, especially when she uses her powers to get out of tight spots and solve issues. The comedy is sharp, but very, very dark, with her clever jokes making the film feel very, very light. The drama is touching and intense, showing personal growth and struggles in a very captivating way. The fantasy and science fiction parts are amazing, thought-provoking, as Star's ability to time travel takes us in an adventure through different time and space. This movie explores different scenes from different timelines, from ancient times to the future, depicting her journey. The movie also deals with her and the family's struggle to balance the changing of the past and the present, the living and the dead, and how her actions have far-reaching consequences. This movie, by merging various genres, create many possibilities, leading to a very unpredictable, thrilling movie that continuously draws us back to the cinema. And I absolutely love this show. Now, I worked for Nestle. Nestle was one of my clients in my previous agency, and I used to create advertising concepts for a chocolate brand called Kit Kat. Remember? Have a break, have a Kit Kat. In Japan, did you know there were like 300 flavors? They turned the classic waffle and chocolate combo to transform into a collision of many, many, many flavors. Known for its love and novelty and regional diversity, Japan has given this beloved treat many different ways of colliding in flavors. For example, I've seen one Kit Kat placed on top of a real sushi, or they've infused sake in it. Do you know what's really funny? In Singapore a few years ago, I even tasted Kit Kat infused with chili crab. Yeah, it tastes weird, but it's got a sensation. A few years ago, on the 1st of April, Burger King launched a simple yet audacious product. They combined the savory goodness of their famous Whopper with the sweet taste of chocolate, and they created the chocolate Whopper. Yes, the chocolate Whopper. I laughed when I saw the advertisement. I dismissed it as a clever April Fool's joke, right? Or prank. Yet, this combination tickled my curiosity, and I found myself standing on a long queue waiting to experience this creation. I took the first bite, and a surge of chocolate erupted from the burger, causing a very delightful mess. This collision of flavors was far more harmonious than I thought, creating a savory and sweet melody which took me completely by surprise. The genius of the marketing team wasn't just the creation of an unexpected product, but in crafting an experience that tantalizes my senses. The chocolate Whopper could be just a fleeting sensation and a product of innovation and clever marketing. In a crowded marketplace where F&B competition was fierce, consumer loyalty was elusive. This chocolate Whopper served as the beacon of inspiration. By creating something new and unexpected that not only enticed the customers, but it gave me, a reason to return to Burger King. And it fostered a bond that goes beyond ordinary transaction. As speakers, how many of us distinguish ourselves from creativity to stand out from your competition? I presently serve as the immediate past president of the Asia Professional Speakers Singapore. It's an association dedicated to growing, facilitating, encouraging, developing, and contributing to the community of the Speakers Association and professionals. And I've observed that speakers who brand themselves creatively are more likely to stand out and attract more potential clients' attention. Cheyenne, it's a good friend of mine. She is the vice president of APSS, the association that I just shared with you. She is a notable speaker, and she focuses on topics surrounding mental health, happiness, and resilience. Through applying positive psychology, scientific tools, and concepts, she's able to extend her training and coaching services to many, many schools. While it could have been predictable to adopt the title of positive psychologist, she opted for something relatable and really unexpected. When you picture scientists, the image of analytical, no-nonsense, practical individuals comes to mind. Yet Cheyenne embraced a contrasting approach, merging her unique personality and the subject matter to craft a new narrative for her brand. And it's, to me, very unforgettable. So when you think of scientists, again, you think of something quite predictable, which is very, nerdy and boring. But Cheyenne is has a very beautiful and happy personality. So she took two words and branded herself, which is happiness, scientist. These two words do not go hand to hand, but in colliding with these two words, it's creating something new that helped her to stand out in the marketplace. This is a wonderful example of collide, where two familiar notions are blended to create something unique, distinctive, that will stand out in the bustling marketplace. I trust my talk has ignited several imaginative avenues for everyone here to explore the concept of collide. There are hundreds, thousands more examples and various techniques of how collide can generate new ideas. Some of the new ideas can be found in my up-and-coming book, which will be launched by Penguin next year. If you are interested, I'll be more than happy to share more details with you if you'd like to connect me over at LinkedIn. In closing, I want to take you back to my pivotal moment, my encounter with Mrs. Quant. It was this collision that disrupted my status quo, propelling me into a journey of creative rediscovery. And now I extend this challenge to each of you. Collide with your status quo, rekindle the flames of creativity, and let conflict ignite a trail of bold changes in whatever you do. By embracing conflict, all of you can boost your creativity.